name is Kat and this is Maysie Makes. I make quilts and other pretty things and I sell them at markets. This is a quick overview of how I got on selling quilts in 2024. So 2024 was a tough year for everybody in small businesses and medium businesses and large businesses and just across the country. Though I'm not sure that I would class myself as a small business, because a small business in the UK says that you employ 50 members of staff and there is just me. So I am a sole trader or an entrepreneur or whatever you want to call me, but I'm not a massive company. I have no employees. There is literally just me. So this is an overview of how me and my little items got on during 2024 when we were selling things at markets. Now this overview is just about the items that are sold at markets and nothing to do with the custom orders that I've had or the items that I've had on my website either, but these are just the overview bits that I have with regards to market selling, because selling quilts at market is tough. There is no bones about that. It's quilts are large and expensive items. They're expensive to make and they are expensive to buy. So you don't sell loads of these items. So of course, these aren't the only items that I sell on my stalls or booths when I'm out and about at markets. I sell smaller items as well, such as scrunchies. This is an example of one of my scrunchies. This is just a standard scrunchie. I use wider elastic in them. Hopefully you can see that there. So I use wider elastic so that it stays in the hair for longer. I love them. Everybody has their own opinion on scrunchies, obviously, because everyone's hair is different, but I love my scrunchies because they are wide and thick and hold my hair all day long. So this is what I call a standard scrunchie, which is generally made out of a patterned fabric. So that's a standard scrunchie. And then I also make what I call luxury scrunchies, which are a satin scrunchie, and hopefully you can see that as well. Again, wide elastic in order to keep that nice and tight in the hair. I make them in smaller things, as smaller sizes as well. So I have them called minis, the same patterned fabric or the satins. And so I sell those again with slightly larger elastic than the norm, because you know, you don't want to keep losing them when you buy them. You want them to stay in your hair and you want them to stay there all day, which is why I use the wider elastic, and that works for me. So I sell things like that. I sell reusable face wipes, which are fabulous, really. I also sell things like mini bunting and little bags and device and book sleeve pouches, lots of lovely little button items. My stores are generally quite pretty, and so I sell those. I also sell some other bits like hair claws and that sort of thing as well to go alongside with the scrunchies, but obviously I don't make those, I buy those in. So and that works well with that side of it. But the quilting side of things is a completely different thing. So I quilt book sleeves and little pouches, and there I quilt cushions, covers, and I quilt runners, which can either be used on a table or on a bed or even hung on the wall if that's something that someone would prefer to do with it. And also obviously quilts themselves. Quilts come in a variety of sizes and obviously a variety of budgets. So the type of quilts that I've been really lucky enough to be able to get sold at markets varies really in size. But I started selling quilts in June 2023. It was my very first market stall selling these sort of large items, had a lot of interest in them. People were looking and thinking about how nice they looked, and that was great. So I knew I was sort of on the right path. I wasn't sure I was in the right place to sell them, but I was at the same market again a couple of weeks later, in a slightly different position, right at the front of the market, which was great. It was pulling people in, and I sold my first quilt, and I couldn't believe it. I almost fell over. It was a very pretty quilt. If I have a picture of it, I will pop one up. I'm pretty sure I have a photo of it, and so I will pop that up on the screen for you to look at. But yeah, it was the first one I sold at a market. I'd sold a couple. I'd made some for family and friends. I'd made a couple for my dogs. I'd sold a couple to some people that I knew, which is great, you know, but they know me, so it's different. But when you are selling to just some person off the street, it just, and they admire your work and they say, wow, you've done a really good job, I was over the moon. So that was the first one I sold, which was in July in 2023. And then things progressed, and I didn't sell any more quilts during the course of 2023 at markets. Obviously there was commissions and stuff, but no quilts at markets directly. A lot of interest, obviously, as you do, but I did all right with, I sold some quilted cushions, and then obviously I sold a load of smaller items as it was 2023. Going in 2024, it was a turbulent time. There's not a lot of money around, you know, people aren't frivolous. They're not out spending huge amounts of money on things that they don't desperately need. But people do spend money when they want something. If they see something and they like it and they appreciate it, the efforts that have gone into making it is different to anything else that they've seen, they will buy them. They will buy it if it speaks to them. And that happened in 2024. I actually ended up selling 4 quilts in total at markets, which was amazing. All completely different. Again, if I have some pictures, I will pop them up. But yes, and I'm pretty sure I should have some pictures, barring one that literally I just finished before the event. I did the Kent County show in July of 2024, and it was a beautiful quilt, and it was just really, I put it up as sort of a display item. It drew a lot of interest. Everyone that walked past it was like pointing, oh, that's so cute and that's so lovely, and it's great to hear. Was not expecting to sell it, and literally the first person that sort of hovered around it on the second day of the event, the first day was a washout. It was just a terrible weather, but on the Saturday, the first person that sort of hovered around it, a few people had looked at it, but this person had looked at it and thought about it and then went away and then came back, and I was like, are you sure? And she was like, I have to have it. So I was like, excellent. And that makes the difference, because it's gone to a nice home and someone's going to look after it and appreciate the efforts that have gone into making it. So that was lovely. And then from then on, it just kept going. So I sold another 2 on that day. So I was really chuffed and very happy, a very happy person to be able to sell those on those days. And then I did something, a much smaller event. It was a fun day of all places, and this lady saw one of my quilts and she looked at the others, and then she went back to the first one and she was like, can I take that? And I was like, of course. So yeah, and she was over the moon with it. She wanted it for her little boy, and it was perfect. It was a perfect size for him, and you know, you can use it, you know, on a floor to play around on. She was happy. I was happy to have sold it. So they do sell. If people want something, they will pay the money for it. So it's, yeah, I was very happy with that. So my 2024 was okay. It wasn't great, just like many people's, just like many businesses out there. It was not ideal, but it was okay. So I was happy with the amount of things I sold. I think I've done the figures for 2024, and my best selling item at market was my luxury scrunchies. They are the most expensive scrunchie that I have, but people will buy it because they like it. You know, they're nice, they're strong, they're going to stay in your hair. I sew the elastic together, I do not knot it, you know, so it's a sturdy scrunchie, and it will last if you, obviously, if anything will last if you look after it. So so yeah, so those sort of things are handy to have on your stall, because they do make up a big difference. So yeah, so I did okay, not great. I would have liked to have done better, particularly at the big show. But then I didn't work hardly any of November and December. So the end of the year was a bit of a wipe for me. I actually run my books April to April for the financial year. So to run these figures is a little bit off for me, because, you know, I'm saying, oh yeah, it was, you know, it was a write-off. It wasn't, well, not a write-off. It wasn't the greatest year, but it wasn't the greatest year across the board, you know, personally and financially for my business. Definitely could have been a little bit better. Not bad by any means, really. Some people really struggled. I can't say that I'm in that camp. My business is doing okay. Do I want it to be better? Of course, who doesn't? So I'm quite happy with how it's going, but I want more. So 2025 is upon us. In fact, I'm filming this on New Year's Eve, so 2025 is upon us tomorrow. I have a few goals in place, and I say goals, I mean, are they goals? I don't know if they're goals, or they're things that I want to achieve. So I currently have a online website with my mobile card reader provider, and I'm upgrading it. So I'm updating the website across the board. So I'm in the process of creating that at this moment in time. I'm hoping to have that finished before the 1st of February, because on the 1st of February I have my items going into a garden centre in a small sort of collective. So this couple run this small collective, and it started in a very small little section of the garden centre. I tried to get into it before, but they weren't able to accommodate me, which is fine. You know, there's only so many shelves that you can get in a small section, and so they have managed to extend, which is great, into a whole different place, much larger. And so be lucky enough to be able to get into that. So I'm there for opening on the 1st of February, and that is at Stone's Garden Centre on the Isle of Sheppey, which is completely different to the sort of places that I've ever had my stuff before, but it depends on the stuff that you're looking to sell. So there's such a variety of items at this collective, so I'm pleased that mine are a little bit different. Obviously mine, the majority of my stuff that I do is big, so you know, I'm not going to have any quilts there. It's going to be impossible to be able to display a quilt on a shelf at a garden centre, so because you just don't, you can't see it, you know, it's not enough. There's so much detail in it, you need to display it properly, and that's just not going to happen there. So I will have slightly smaller items. Obviously they've said that they would like to have my scrunchies there, which is great, so I will be having those, and then some smaller things, emotional support hearts that I make, obviously the wipes as well, which is they're generally really popular, so hopefully they'll be popular there. I'm hoping there'll be enough space for at least one cushion on there if I can. But again, I'm not going to know until I get to the shelf. They are in the process of building those at the moment and laying everything out at this new place. So it's going to be hard graft for them. The other section is still open as far as I'm aware at this moment in time. So hopefully they will come back to me with a little bit more information, maybe a photo of what I've got, so I know what to work with. So I've already done pricing labels. I've already had those. Normally I would do them in-house, but I am very keen on branding, so to ensure that my branding is kept up to date and uniform across the board, I am looking at having those outsourced. It's just to make my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to have those printed. They are printed, I've been having them printed on business card size, but I'm having 2 per business card, so I can cut them in half, get double the amount, and just means that it saves me having to do that, because to be able to print them double-sided to make it all look pretty and nice and uniform and leave, you know, it's just too much. So I don't have enough time. So on those I will have a QR code where people can scan, and they will have access to my Facebook and Instagram, and obviously the website when that is properly up and running, because at the moment the other one is down, so that I can tidy everything up really and keep it uniform. If you hear clip clip clipping, it's my little dog. Yeah, so that will be him in the background, so you may hear him. The other things that I'm looking to do in 2025, my machine, which has just switched itself off onto eco mode, has an embroidery module on it, and I have had this machine now for about 18 months, I think, and I have never had it on, never. And it's part of why I bought this machine, because I wanted to be able to do that. But I'm so engrossed with things like the quilting elements that I just haven't got round to that. So I haven't got onto that, so I want to get onto that. Hopefully once this stuff is all sorted with regards to the shelf at the garden centre and all that's all kitted out and ready to go and looking all nice and pretty, it will give me a bit of time in sort of February time to just maybe just play around with that. So I will look to do that. Also, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my list of things that I've got written down for what I'm planning to do for 2025. I'm also looking, my plan is to make at least 10 quilts this year. I make a lot of quilts and I finish them. I tend not to make them and then put them to one side, like make the tops and that's it. So I tend to make 2 quilt tops, and then I do the basting. I baste both of them, and then I quilt both of them, and then I bind both of them. So that's normally how I work. So I've made 1 quilt top. I think I finished it actually in September, but I've done hardly anything because I had a poorly dog. Not this one. Yeah, and so it sort of wiped out September, October and November for me. So yeah, so I have been literally just sorting other bits and pieces out. So I've got another one where I've got probably just over half the blocks built. I've still got to finish those, and then it's the quilt design. It's a Tilda quilt, and the quilt design is so pretty. It's got like teapots, and then there's bunting, and yeah, it's so pretty. So I'm hoping to try and get that finished. I'm not going to get it finished, obviously this year is 31st of December today, so I'm hoping to get that done in January, and at least both quilted and bound by February would be nice. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm not going to bust myself out to get it done, but I'd like to have a lot of variation if I can for the Kent County show in July, which I'm doing again this year. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it again, but I like to try everything twice if I can. Because you need to know for sure, because sometimes, you know, things like the weather can have a massive effect on sales. The weather, particularly on that weekend in July, was absolutely awful. But it's a ticketed event, so people, if they bought tickets, they go. So, and you can't blame them for that because the tickets are not cheap. So I'm hoping to do the King County show again this year. I'm hoping to try and they do one at the same place, a different company at Christmas. I'm going to see if I can try and do something along those lines. It's difficult. Christmas time is a funny time of year anyway. There's a lot of stress, a lot of, you know, family commitments, and you know, there's other work related stuff as well. So we'll see. Maybe I'll look to do that, but not something I'm considering at the moment. I'm not looking any further than July at this moment in time, because, you know, 2025 is just about to start, and who knows what this new year will bring. You just don't know what's around the corner for anybody. So that is one of my plans. My other plan as well is in 2024, I also invested in some quilt design software. So I would be really happy with myself if I could at least launch one PDF pattern. We'll see how that goes. Obviously it'll have to be tested. I have to make it and test it. I've designed the quilt, I've made the quilt, so I know it's possible to make it. It's just making sure that I write the quilt directions down so people can go, oh yeah, that's how you do it, that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm hoping to be able to get that done. Yeah, and I think just general posting more on social media. Doesn't everybody want to be able to do that? You know, the problem is it's very difficult to be able to film, you know, for YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you post. It's difficult, you know, it's finding the time, it's editing those things. And when you're not, you know, when you're a art design business and you're at the computer most of the day, it's just switching from one screen to another. It's not a problem. But when you're sitting at a sewing machine and you're engrossed in what you're doing whilst listening to an audiobook or a podcast or something, you know, or watching YouTube videos, well, not really watching, but listening to YouTube videos, then you literally have to tear yourself away from that work to start a whole different process on a different machine. So yes, it can be done. Is it easy to do? Sort of. You know, if you want to do it, you can do it. Can you do some of it on your phone? Of course you can. Do you? Probably not. And it's not because you don't want to, because of course you do, but it's very difficult to find the time. So I'm going to do my utmost to find the time to record little snippets here and there, to post bits on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all those places. And the reason that I did the YouTube thing is not to preach or to go on about things or, you know, show off or to anything like that. I've come on to do the YouTube thing as a thing for me, really. So if people watch it, great. If they don't, so what? It doesn't matter. I'm not here to make, you know, this something massive. I'm going to post when I can post. It's going to be one of those things that if you subscribe, then you'll see it. And if you don't, you probably won't. So it's, you know, it's impossible to be able to do absolutely everything unless that's the only thing you do. So if you do YouTube tutorials on quilting, then great. That's great. You can get on there and you'll do that, and that's what you're doing. But mine aren't YouTube tutorials as a rule. Mine are just reminiscences of what I've been doing and going over the bits and pieces. And yes, I will probably show some items, and maybe, you know, I will show, if I can get a good angle, I will show how I'm making some pieces as well. That, you know, would be great to do, but they won't be tutorials on that, because there are so many out there. That's how I learnt to quilt. I only started in 2022, I think. So I've not been quilting myself for very long. I love it. You either love it or you don't. You have to have a lot of patience. And the one thing that I would say that if you are going to start quilting and it's not something that you've done before, is slow down. Take your time. When you see these videos on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, you know, they're either sped up or there's someone that has been doing this for such a long time. They can whack a 1/4 inch seam through a machine in seconds flat. And don't get me wrong, I can do it much quicker now, and I can see a 1/4 inch now, easy. You know, if I see anything larger than that, I'm like, oh, what's going on? You know, it's weird, you know, for me to be looking at anything other than a 1/4 inch seam. So I, you know, for me, it's second nature. But you have to learn that. It's practice, and I sew every day. Okay, I didn't sew hardly anything in October or November. I only started back at my sewing machine in the October, but that was me mental time that I needed away from the machine because I had other pressing issues related to the illness of my dog. So there was other things going on, and so that's just how it is. You know, you can't do everything all the time. But prior to that, I was at my machine constantly. And I run 2 small businesses. You call it small. Micro. No, can't even call it micro because that's not the definition of a micro business. I employ no staff. It's just me. So it's a mini business is what I'm going to call it. So I have 2 mini businesses, both very separate. One virtual admin, bookkeeping and that sort of really exciting, riveting stuff. And then I have Maisie Makes, and I have a preference, as everybody does in the jobs that they do in their everyday life. So anyway, that is what I've done in 2024, what I'm looking forward to doing in 2025. Fingers crossed things work out with the garden centre, because it's nice to have an extra revenue of income coming in with regards to the items. Who knows how it's going to pan out? You know, it's a weekly amount that you have to pay. Yes. Well, monthly amount, I should say, not weekly. Monthly amount that you have to pay out. Yes. It's about the same as some stores that you get, but your items are in there 7 days a week. So, you know, there are more hours to it. You do have to man the shop once a month. For me, it's not a problem. Like I said, I run 2 mini businesses, so it's just me running both of them. So it's not a problem to take a whole day working as Mini Maysie at the shop. So yeah, it's not a problem to do that. So I'm looking forward to trying something new for 2025 and giving it a go, and hopeful that it might work out. You know, that's all you can do is just hope and try. And if you don't try, you never know. And so that's the thing going into 2025. If you don't try, you'll never know. Okay, I'm going to let you crack on, but thank you so much for wasting half an hour with me. And I will see you on the other side. You take care. See you then. Bye.